Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's go to the Big 12. You know, there's two big picture playoff ramification games in the Big 12. BYU Arizona State is one. We'll get to that after the break. But let's talk about America's team, baby. The Colorado Buffaloes. They are 8-2. Obviously, they started 1-1, so they're 7-1 in their last 8 games. They're playing great football. They're in control of their own destiny in the Big 12 title chase. But they're also playing a very interesting Kansas team here. So Kansas hosting Colorado, a little bit of a funky setup, by the way. Kansas's stadium is under renovation. So this game is actually at Arrowhead Field. Yeah, home of Mahomes, home of Andy Reid. Now it's home of Coach Prime and Shador and Travis Hunter. Colorado comes in as a 2.5-point favorite. Again, we are recording Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evenings. This could change if you're listening on Thursday and Friday. The over-under in this game set at 59.5. So look, on this show, we do talk a lot about the Colorado Buffaloes. So let's start with Kansas. I saw some Kansas fans joking they're the best 2-6 team in college football history. Might be a little bit hyperbolic. I don't think it's that far off, though. Remember, this was a top 10 team coming into the season, or top 25 team coming into the season, I should say. A lot of people picked them to win the Big 12, and it kind of fell apart early. But you can go back to Kansas's early part of the slate. It's not like they were losing to either bad teams or teams that were blowing them out. They lose by 6 to Illinois. Illinois is a pretty good team. They're not great, but they're good enough. They lose to UNLV. By the way, shout out Matt Sluka. Remember him? That was the game that Matt Sluka basically went into the portal off of. They lose by 3. They lose by 4 at West Virginia. Always a tough place to play. They lose by 4 at Arizona State, which is now 8-2. And so you look at who this team is. You look at what they've done, and it's also worth noting this. Kansas has single-handedly shaken up the Big 12 title race in the past few weeks. Beat Iowa State 2 weeks ago. Remember, Iowa State was undefeated coming into that one, controlled their own destiny in the Big 12 standings. Beat BYU last week. BYU was one of 4 undefeated teams at the time. They knock them off. BYU's first loss of the year. So Kansas has won 2 in a row. It's worth noting they almost beat Kansas State a few weeks ago as well. So this team is playing their best football, and we kind of know what's at stake for them, right? They're 4-6. Let's do some simple math. They need to win this game, and they need to win the season finale against Baylor to get bowl eligible. And so this has a lot on the line for them as well, because they don't want their season to end a week from now. And so when you look at this matchup, first of all, it's worth noting with Kansas, what you need to know about the Jayhawks. What do they do well? How did they get here? How did they get to back-to-back wins over top 20 teams at the time? Pretty straightforward. They run the football really well, okay? Top 20 rush offense in the country. And also 2 weeks ago against Iowa State is where they really broke out. 237 yards on the ground, 5.2 yards per carry. The one thing I will say about Kansas, they aren't super elite defensively, which I think is going to come into play. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is a team in the Kansas Jayhawks that they rank right now 79th nationally in total defense. And the big stat against Colorado always is the pass defense, 82nd nationally in the country. So speaking of Colorado, let's dive in. This is a great story. This is an amazing story, okay? And at this point, we just said it with Indiana. We'll say it again. Enough with it's a great story. They're also a great football team. And all you got to do is go back to last week, and you got to go back to this show where your boy took the L, okay? Because last week, I was the guy on here saying, listen, this Colorado run has been incredible. By the way, I've been backing Colorado all along. Picked them to win and cover against Cincinnati. Picked them to win and cover against Arizona. Picked them to win and cover against Texas Tech. Picked them to cover against Kansas State. They are on, do you know this? They are on 8 straight games where they have covered the spread against their opponents, okay? So they're playing great football. But I'll also say this. Last week was the week where I sat there and said, well, you know, Utah, top 20 defense, the best pass defense that Colorado has seen all year. Yeah, what ended up happening, they put up 49 points, and Shador Sanders, again, was phenomenal. 5 touchdown passes in that game. And I think the thing that stands out, and if you've watched Colorado, you already know this, but so much talent at the skill positions. I think I said 5. Did I say 5? I meant to say 3. But LeJonte Wester is awesome. Will Shepherd is awesome. Travis Hunter is obviously awesome. And I thought Joel Klatt mentioned this, and I've heard Brock Heward mention it as well. Those receivers are all a little bit different. Some of them have size like a Will Shepherd. Some of them have speed like a LeJonte Wester. Some of them have a combination of everything like Travis Hunter. And so you look at this team and you look at this offense, and what stands out, I get that they do not run the football well, but they have run it so far well enough to stay in games and to win games. Kind of interesting stat last week. They only had 65 yards rushing. 37 of it came on one carry from Isaiah Augustive. But I just bring it up because it has not impacted them so far. And to come to the pick, to talk about the pick for this game, I don't think it's going to affect them on Saturday, because I'll say this, my official pick, Colorado -2.5. And I know it's a road game, and I know it's at Arrowhead, and I know Kansas is playing good football. But I made the mistake of doubting Colorado last week. Remember, what did I say? I said, the Utah pass defense, best one they've seen all year. How are they going to move the ball? And this might be the game where they get tripped up. And even if they win, because Utah's quarterback situation is a mess, it's going to be 24-14. And then Colorado put up 49 by themselves and hit the over by themselves. And so Kyle Whittingham said after the game, said that's the best team we've seen this year in the Big 12. Lance Leipold, before the game this week, the head coach at Kansas, said Travis Hunter is the athlete and star of this generation of college football. So there's no denying how good they are. And I think it's proof. There's no denying how explosive this team is well, and their ability to move the ball on anybody. Listen, we can get in 2 or 3 weeks, if they make the playoffs, into how they would match up with an Ohio State, with a Bama. I think they actually match up with just about anybody because of their ability to stretch the field and because the fact that Shedeur Sanders is the best player in college football. By the way, I actually reached out to a Vegas buddy of mine to get some early point spreads. They wouldn't be as big of an underdog against a Bama, a Georgia, as a lot of people think, because I think Vegas is finally starting to realize this is a really good football team. And so when I just look at it, I know Kansas is playing its best football. They're a well-coached team, good team, but so is Colorado. And Colorado against that pass defense, I think, is going to be able to move the ball. And then we've talked about the Colorado defense as well. Robert Livingston, probably right in the short conversation for the Broyles Award given to the nation's top assistant coach. I think he should probably be the front runner at this point, because that defense is vastly improved. Number 1 in the Big 12 in sacks, number 1 in tackles for loss. And Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, Kansas's quarterback is Jalen Daniels, is a really good player, but he's been inconsistent throwing the ball. So you make a mistake against that secondary, they make you pay. I think they're going to struggle to run the football, and I think Colorado wins this game. I think they cover. I'll say, they put up 35 minimum every week. So I'll say 35-24 Colorado wins. They get to 9-2, and they would play Oklahoma State for 10 wins next week. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Colorado is my official best bet in this game. Give me them at -2.5.